What's up, YouTube? Shalom. I just want to hop right into it, man, and pick up where we left off in our last video, our discussion about being a targeted individual and gang stalking. Now, through my research and also my experience, this is what I've uncovered. That in 1979, Herman Goldstein argued that they basically needed to change up the way that they policed society. So he decided on a more proactive approach that consisted of identifying and targeting problems that contribute to crime, disorder, and other community issues. So right there, that's how you get on the list, because you're identified as a problem. Someone identifies you as a target or a problem. Someone meaning a stakeholder. Now, I know it says that someone who contributes to crime, but they also throw in disorder and other community issues. Now, when you Google disorder and when you read a couple more of these articles that they have published, when they're talking about disorder, they're talking about social disorders. They're talking about mental health conditions like panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, depression, alcoholism, any type of substance abuse, eating disorders, schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders can get you on the list. You can be a target of gang stalking if you have any of those disorders. Then they also put in there and other community issues, meaning, let's say you have a dispute with a neighbor who is a stakeholder, meaning a judge, a lawyer, a police officer, someone would pull in the law enforcement community. You can get on this list. Yeah, you can be harassed because you're causing a problem in the community. There should be no problem in the community as far as these people are concerned. So if you're causing some type of disorder in the community, playing loud music, getting DUIs, arguing with your wife and that people could hear you next door, guess what? You can be gang stalked. You can be problem-orientated policed, or community-orientated police, they call it also. We'll get into all of that a little bit in a couple later videos. Now, back in 1983, they implemented the idea of problem-orientated policing through a program called ROPE, R-O-P-E, which stood for Repeat Offender Program Experiment, and it was implemented in Baltimore, Maryland. So it's in place in every city now. ROPE. All you got to do is Google it, and you'll check it out for yourself. It may go under different names, but this is where it all started, and it started with juveniles. So now check it out. This is an article that was published in the FBI Journal from the National Institute of Justice. Main terms: recidivist crime control programs. Repeat offender program experiment. I'm going to leave a link so you can check it out for yourself. And it says the principal features included system-wide coordination, executive support, information sharing, reallocation of resources, and planning. So basically it lets you know right here that they communicate with every police organization everywhere in the United States. And let me debunk some things right now. That's how they know where you are all the time. It's not because they necessarily follow you there. If they know where you're going, they're automatically going to communicate with the necessary law enforcement in that city, in that state, to pick up the surveillance when you get there. They don't have to, they may reallocate their team, like it says, reallocation of resources and planning. That all depends on the plan they execute. So they can uproot a surveillance team and bring them to you. But for the most part, that's not how it works. If you have a phone with a SIM card, they use Stingray technology where it tells them where your phone has been, where it's going, and where it's at. That also intercepts your phone calls and your text messages in real time. That's how they know where you are. That's how they know where you at, especially if you're talking on the phone. Or if you're talking to people about what you're going to do. They're going to know. Okay. So anyways, the program had 6 key strategies. Check it out. The first one is targeting. A violent repeat offenders. Don't let that terminology throw you off when it says of violent repeat offenders. And it's because what I told you in 1979, this encompassed criminals. But this is telling you basically what this program is designed for, and that's those with social disorders as well. Even if you were diagnosed with autism in elementary school, you could be a participant, you could be a victim, a target of this program. So like I said, the 6 key strategies of ROPE, which is basically gang stalking in experimental stages in 1983, were targeting of violent repeat offenders, documentation of prior records, so they keep all your records together, limits on plea bargains for former handling of serious juvenile offenders, tighter community supervision, and a police repeat offender unit. Remember these key words when they talk about community supervision, targeting, and offenders, because all of this plays a role in how you, they have scorecards. So when you get this referral, all of these things key into how many points you have on the scorecard. And that's going to dictate your surveillance, your level of surveillance, what type of shit they do to you during the surveillance. Are you violent? Are you not? So everyone's program is different. But it goes on to say that in 1983, the program was successful in having 37 offenders incarcerated. And an additional 124 threshold offenders were identified, which means while they were watching the 37, they identified a couple, 124 more. Right? Now, what is a threshold offender? A threshold offender is someone or offenders who are first-time offenders, non-violent offenders, or juveniles deemed to be in the beginning of a pattern of delinquency. So now when you check out the definition of threshold offenders, check out the tricky key wording. They say first-time offenders, non-violent offenders, or juveniles. So that lets you know right there a threshold offender can be an adult. And you could be a first-time non-violent offender, which means you might as well include a DUI because that's a misdemeanor. So you can be showing patterns of delinquency, and you can be elected to participate or be a target in this program based on the simple fact that you got one too many DUIs. And you're demonstrating a pattern of delinquency. And I'm reading this terminology on this website called JOINS, which is Juvenile Offenders in Need of Supervision, which is another program in Baltimore, which is going on right now, and it's just a different name for ROPE, if you ask me. But this is I'm showing you these because these are programs that tell you exactly what they do, and what the one facet of this is to reduce recidivism. So that's one facet of ROPE. Well, gang stalking, excuse me. What else? Another one is to prevent crime. So when you're doing problem-oriented policing, it's proactive. So this is preventative. This is crime prevention, not crime apprehension. Of course, if you're a violent offender, they're going to want to get you up out of there and apprehend you. But for the most part, I'll show you a couple of articles that show you that another component of this program is to reduce recidivism. Especially if you're a criminal and they scare the shit out of you with all of this technology and following you around, you ain't going to want to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And another key component, which I'll show you, is mental health services. So if you check out this website, JOINS, Juveniles in Need of Supervision, you see one of their goal objectives is reducing the rate of recidivism. And down at the bottom, it talks about victims can participate and be a part of this program if desired, which means basically they get have your ass under surveillance or do street theater like you guys call it. And in my previous video when I discussed victims being a part of the program, here it is in black and white for you. Now check it out. On joins it says every juvenile arrest is screened for joins eligibility as a threshold offender. Now remember, I just showed you the FBI article published about rope, and their goal was to remove violent repeat offenders, even if they were juveniles. So this has been going on since 1983, where people have been getting screened for eligibility to join this program to see if they're threshold offenders. Now let me go back here. Practice and theory. We're still on the crime element of the program. In the middle, you have disorder and other community issues. So let's see here. Let me touch on the Violent Control Law Enforcement Act of 1994. And the only reason I want to do that is just to show you where they get their funding. It's bills like this that will help you understand a little more how they have so much money. And if you see right here, in 1994, when this crime bill was passed by Congress, crime prevention programs were given $6.1 billion in funding. $6.1 billion for crime prevention programs like gang stalking. They also gave all these other government entities, including the Justice Department, $2.6 billion. So they have no shortage of cash, trust me. And with the COP services, they getting even more money. We'll get into that in another video. So I want to come over here to the component of mental health really quick. When I was talking about mental disorders and, well, they call it social disorder. But you can qualify to be gang stalked if you suffer from substance abuse. And there's a lot of people out there that suffer from substance abuse, alcoholism. So once again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a crime. It could be any social disorder. So we're gonna check out this article here that I have pulled up. And this article is talking about mapping the criminal justice system to connect justice-involved individuals with treatment and health care under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Now, how does this tie in? Let's check out this article. State and local criminal justice systems are poised to change the way they do business. Now, right off the top, that should let you know, and it does let you know what this article is all about, that the criminal justice system and the state and locals, they're changing the way they do business. With the advent of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, ACA, it's now possible for millions of low-income individuals in the criminal justice system to obtain insurance coverage for the physical and behavioral health care needs. Now, trust me, this must tie in together somehow, because it basically tells you that it's so much easier now for individuals in the criminal justice system to obtain insurance, right? A large number of individuals in the criminal justice system struggle with chronic health problems and mental health substance abuse disorders. See, there's that key word, disorders. Remember, I told you how you qualify to be gang stalked. You have to have some type of disorder. Now look, they did a report. It says lack of treatment can be a factor in increased recidivism. For example, then they go on to tell you about some reports that they did in 2006, 2002, where they determined that most of the people, that 53% of the people in there were dependent on drugs or alcohol and had at least 3 prior sentences to probation or incarceration. So basically, they're comparing substance abuse and mental health and illnesses with crime. So we're all in the same boat. Even if you have not committed a crime, you have the propensity to commit a crime. Which brings me to this point I just want to discuss real quick on a side note. I know that there's been a lot of targeted individuals who went on shooting sprees after being targeted. Now, I really don't know the situations of any of these people, but it could be quite possible. There's a couple different scenarios. Number one, they were targeted because they had social disorders, and maybe some of the people targeting them knew they had the propensity to commit mass shootings. Or on the flip side of that, maybe they committed the mass shooting because they felt their peers was stalking them and doing weird shit. So either way it go, it's like a catch-22, man. But the point is, there's a lot of ways for you to get a referral for this program. And speaking of that, I wanna tell you a couple of things that I experienced in this program, and I'm gonna wrap it up. One thing was, when they're scoring you and you're under surveillance and they're running a survey on you, if you check out my other video when I said role players or stakeholders, can be businesses. Check out what happened to me, man. I was at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I pulled up to get some food. The food came up to like $25 or something like that. The lady gave me the food, closed the door to the drive-thru window, turned her back, and walked off. I must have sat there for, 3 minutes waiting for her to return so I could pay her money. I could have left. That's what they thought I was going to do. And at the time, I knew I was being surveyed, surveillance around me, but I didn't know that this restaurant played a part in that. When she came back, I could hear them talking, saying, "Is that him? Is he still there?" Saying stuff like that. And when I gave her the money. When she came back to give me my change, she said, "You just don't know what you just did." And that always stuck with me, because I remember when I left and I looked back, something ominous seemed about, it seemed weird. Like the people in the KFC just seemed like they was just sitting around hanging out, not really eating. I could be mistaken, but I feel that restaurant played a part in me being surveyed and me scoring points on this chart, or the scorecard, if you will. Another thing I wanted to raise is the mobbing. How that happens is like this. When you go somewhere, those people ain't just hanging out there. They don't really know that you're there. These people are following you through your phone, through Stingray technology. And when you post up somewhere, let's say you leave your house and you go to a beach area or wherever you're going, they're following you with a big truck. When I say a big truck, I mean like a big U-Haul truck or a moving truck with about 20 motherfuckers 20 people in it. And when you get to where you're going and you park your car, 20 people about to hop out the back of this truck with bikes, with cats, dogs, with strollers, with all kind of stuff, and blend in and become a part of that community. That's another way they do surveillance. And one more point I want to raise. If you're on the phone talking to your people about, people are following me and I don't know what's going on, you really don't know what's going on, and people are making these suggestions about, it could be religious or it could be angels or whatever, and you start feeding into that, the gang stalkers or the people that are following you are going to start giving you misinformation and planning. I'll tell you what happened to me. I was talking to my people about it. Someone said something or the other about maybe it's angels. Do you think it's angels? The next day when I came home, there was a book sitting on my doorstep talking about angels that watch over you, and I didn't even read the book because I felt that it was misinformation. These people wanted me to think that all of these people that I see around me were angels. Nah, man. I'm telling you what it is. I'm leaving you these links. You can check it out for yourself. Leave a comment. I'll comment back and we can get into this discussion. I plan on posting more information and more material in the future. So please subscribe. Thanks for watching.